Hello, everybody. Everybody who I have no idea who's watching this, so I'll just say hello, everybody, for the heck of it. My name is Ken, and once again, welcome to my live stream here on Zubia. So, last week I was talking a little bit about a new book that I've been reviewing over on my YouTube channel, and when I say new, I mean a new book to me. It's been out for a while, called The Happiness Trap. Actually, see, that's the... Oh, the camera's doing that weird thing where everything's reversed, isn't it? Anyway, you get the idea. As I knock over everything. Today's going well. So, yeah. Anyway, this week, I'll talk a little bit about that towards the end of the broadcast, but this week I wanted to talk about medication and anxiety, and specifically my experiences taking medication for my anxiety. Now, I haven't always been medicated, and in fact, I probably should have been medicated for depression and anxiety when I was a kid, but no one really knew what was going on. I also had horrible insomnia as a kid, and I still have bouts of insomnia that are pretty bad. But yeah, I don't think anyone thought too much about, oh, well, this kid's a little sad. So what? Kids are sad. It's just sad being a kid sometimes. I think I've probably always had depression, though, to be perfectly honest. I think growing up, most kids were operating at about here, and I was always down here as far as how I was feeling on the happiness scale. So, yeah, I probably should have been medicated early on. I, off and on, through the years, I've been on medication, and then I go off the medication when I start feeling better, which sometimes is okay depending on your circumstances. If the depression you're experiencing is more, what would you say? If the depression you're experiencing is more situational, I guess, then that can sometimes be a viable option for people to take medication and then go off it after a while. My problem being that mine was not, I mean, it would situationally become worse, but it was always there, and I probably should have been constantly medicated for it, or at least more consistently, I think is what I'm trying to say. And so I would take Wellbutrin off and on, and for a while I was taking gabapentin. Now, I was taking gabapentin at two separate times in my life. The first time was probably about 6 years ago or so, and it worked okay. Gabapentin also goes by the name Neurontin, and some people take it for seizures, and other people have been able to successfully take it as a mood stabilizer. So I was taking gabapentin for the last year and a half, I think, and I was expecting to have good results from it because from what I remembered when I had previously taken gabapentin, it worked fairly well in conjunction with the Wellbutrin. Wellbutrin, though, had stopped really being effective for me. I'd say about 2 years ago, I was trying to treat my depression with Wellbutrin, and it just wasn't cutting it. There's also been, for me, a recent development, and by recent I mean in the last couple of years, with this anxiety. But it's not anxiety, I guess, the way a lot of people would define it. I don't necessarily get the racing heart and, get all sweaty and I don't have that intense physical reaction. There is a physical reaction, definitely, but it's a little different. For me, an anxiety attack feels like like everything's too loud, or everybody's voices are too loud, people are too intense, and there are certain personality types that I do not get along with at all, that I cannot take at the best of times, but when I'm having an anxiety attack, I really can't. And they're the people who are all hey, how you doing? And blah, 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 blah. And hey, this is a great day and I'm going to do this. And hey, have you done this thing yet? This generally happens to me at work. They're all very enthusiastic and very excited and they want to know what's going on and how are you doing and what's up? And oh my God, and I can't deal with that. And then on top of that, I get the feeling of paranoia to where I just don't want to be around people, and I feel this ever-increasing sense of doom, and I really just want to be at home with the door locked and bolted and barred and sitting on my couch and listening to nothing but silence and not talking or doing anything. So I get that, and that's no fun. So for a while I was hoping, and my psychiatrist was hoping, that the gabapentin would maybe help that. It did not. So I'm no longer taking that. I had, when I was still taking it, it was, 300 milligrams 3 times a day of gabapentin. So I'm glad to be off that, if for no other reason than it's one less pill to take. I was also taking, and I'm still taking, sertraline, although my dose of that has changed, and sertraline is generic for Zoloft, in case you're wondering. So I was taking, I think it was 150 milligrams twice a day, and now we've cut me back to 50 milligrams 1 time a day. For the as-needed anxiety attacks that I just described for you, they've given me Xanax to take as you know, as something to help that in the moment. It does tend to make me really drowsy though, so I usually only take half a dose. My current dose of Xanax is, it's a half milligram tablet, and then I just take half of that for my anxiety attacks. And it can take a while to take effect. Sometimes I've noticed for me it can take up to half an hour before it starts working. But when it does, usually that's enough to take the edge off and enough to keep me sane enough to where I can stay at my day job. Because we all know you can't constantly be running home from your day job, otherwise pretty soon you don't have a day job. So that works well enough for that. And then because I do have problems sleeping at night, and my psychiatrist was of the opinion that I really needed to start getting more sleep and more significant amounts of sleep, she prescribed, she prescribed me Seroquel. So I take usually half a tablet of my 50 milligram tablet of Seroquel at night, because that definitely knocks me out. The Xanax kind of does. The Seroquel, boom, I'm just out like a light. It's very powerful, and it's good for ensuring that I sleep at night. Although I do have a strange side effect of the Seroquel. I get what I call Benadryl body. And what I mean by that is I have allergies. I have seasonal allergies all year round. So my season is the entire year. I live in Nevada. I'm allergic to sagebrush. I'm also allergic to dust mites and, all the usual crap, but it just never seems to go away. When it gets really bad, I will take Benadryl, which also has the effect of drugging me and making me really sleepy. But Benadryl also causes me to have the unsettling feeling of wanting to jump out of my skin. I'll just feel like my body will just want to tense up, and just, I can almost feel like I physically am trying to jump out of my own body. And it's just this tense, awful feeling. It's really horrible. I imagine people that have restless leg syndrome probably feel like this. It's the nearest I can think of to where your legs just can't sit still. And for me, my body just can't sit still, and it just wants to move, and it feels uncomfortable, and I'm kind of twitchy and just can't stop moving around and just feel tense and awful. So in order to counterbalance that, I will sometimes take half of my dose of the Xanax with the Seroquel, because that kind of counteracts that weird Benadryl body feeling, that jumping out of my own skin feeling. So, that's fine. And the upshot of that is that in the morning, I'm pretty brain foggy. So throughout the day, my short-term memory is pretty bad, and I just kind of, it's like thinking through a fog. If your thoughts were used to traveling throughout your brain in a clear, sunny spring day, and the equivalent of that would be like trying to find their way through the worst San Francisco fog. That would be kind of how it feels to me. Just, medicine head, for those of you who are familiar with those commercials from a few years back. So anyway, all of this I say to say this. I absolutely am 100% in favor of taking medication to help you if doing so will be helpful. Not everybody has a chemical imbalance. Not everybody's brain chemistry is miswired. So I don't think that medication therapy is necessarily for everybody. However, if it's fairly clear after a few sessions with a psychologist, a therapist, that what you're going through with your depression is more than just situational, that there might be a chemical cause to it, then I say, for me, it was worth it. And it's very hit and miss with trying to figure out the right combination. I went through a few different iterations of all these various medications before I found one that worked. A couple of years ago, I was working at a rental agency, and the depression was pretty bad at that point. And I was trying to take Klonopin for my anxiety. Oh boy, that was bad. They warn you that Klonopin can have, all these things have side effects, right? But they warn you that Klonopin can have some fairly serious nausea as a side effect. And boy, they weren't kidding. At least for me, it was bad. It was to where I didn't want to move too quickly from anything. I spent the first 2 days when I was taking it with bad headaches and horrible nausea. Just moving to kind of roll over on the couch, I had to keep a bucket next to the couch because it was not good. I really just wanted to throw up anytime I moved. And then the headache was pretty bad too on top of it. And so we were so I was only on that for about 2 weeks, and I'm all like, no, I cannot do this anymore. So I was missing time at work, and then we were trying some other different medications about that time. And I was still having a lot of problems with the nausea and the throwing up. And I remember I got fired from that job. In the parking lot, I had gone to lunch, as was my custom. And when I got back, nothing was sitting well. And so I'm sitting there in my car, and I can't get back into the office because I'm throwing up. I have the car the driver's side door open, and I'm just leaning over and everything's, you know, it was wonderful. And I think one of my coworkers came out and said, "Hey, holy crap, are you okay?" I'm like, no, I'll be okay in a few minutes probably, but the side effects of these new meds are really kicking my butt. So I'm sitting there nauseous as heck, and then the owner of the company comes out and asks how I'm doing, and at the same time says, "We're going to have to let you go," because I had called in like the week before, not the whole week, but like I called out sick because of my med side effects, and they were supposed to, I guess, fire me earlier that day, but no one had put together my final check, and no one had told me or wanted to tell me, or I don't know. But so I worked the entire morning, which meant that they had to then recut a new check to include my hours from that day. And so as I'm throwing up and everything, he fired me in the parking lot. Oh my God. Yeah. Not my finest hour. The good news is that, you know, I wasn't out of work for too terribly long, but that was a real low point. Talk about being depressed and situational depression on top of the rest of my chemical depression. Yeah. So, but once I got through that stage where I was able to find a combination that actually worked, didn't make me sick, actually made me feel normal to where I didn't want to just weep and shut everybody out and hide away. It was wonderful. And it's a constant readjustment process. And I've heard that that's normal, where, you know, you can go for a few months, maybe a year or two, and then suddenly one of your meds might stop working for whatever reason, and you'll have to kind of start the process over again to find a different combination. And I'm perfectly willing to do that because the alternative is not good for me. As dark as my brain can get, sometimes even on the medication, it would be so much worse without it. So yeah, so I'm of the opinion that better living through chemistry is a good thing. It can definitely help certain people. So if you think you might be one of those people, then you will definitely want to talk to your doctor about it and see what they say. And then real quick, I told you I was going to talk a little bit more about the happiness trap towards the end of the video. This last chapter that I went through was really good, and he's talking about how we all have two minds. We have an objective mind that sees everything and says nothing, and then we have our thinking mind, which is usually not very helpful and just chatters away in the background, annoyingly so, and usually with nothing good to add to anything. But it was really interesting. So I've reviewed that over on my YouTube channel. You can see that at DontPunishPain.com, and it's the latest video. I think it's called Of Two Minds. So be sure to check that out if you're at all interested. And I think I'll go ahead and wrap up for today. Thank you so much for joining me, and for those of you who might be watching this on rebroadcast a little bit later, thanks for doing so. Until next time, I'm Ken. You take care. Be good to yourself.